Hi y'all. Okay, so I guess I'm back from like my 2-week holiday break. And I close in less than a week. And so figured I'm due for an update. But I'm still basically just winging it. And as far as like how I'm winging it. So like 6 to 8 weeks ago at some point I had sold my wedding ring. And which I had planned to do as part of like releasing what no longer serves. And on a side note, if anybody has like sold back a wedding ring, they are worth, like, the minute you buy them and walk out the door, if you wanted to go and say like, no, I'm going to sell this back to you, you're only going to get like a third or a fourth of what you spent on it back, which is crazy to me. Like, I know diamonds aren't rare. There's like tons of reserves filled with them, and it's just all about managing supply and demand. I think most of the world knows that at this point. I just could not believe that, like, I don't know, people spend so much money on these things, and then, you know, the second you walk out the door with them, it's worth a third or fourth of what you paid. I guess I didn't realize like how drastic it was. But if you don't believe me, take your wedding ring to either where you bought it from, or most jewelers or whatever, stores, or like name brand, high end, generic, or like average, whatever, do buy back diamonds, but whether you bought it there or not, but you just aren't gonna get a fraction of what you paid for out of it. But anyway, if you don't believe me, go try it out. Go say like, do you buy back, or do you buy jewelry, and I'd like to get a quote. I'm just curious, and you're gonna see. So anyway, gold band for me in the future. But yeah, so, and then the Venmo thing. So I was Venmoing a friend from my Amex, and then she would Venmo it back, and I'd cash it out in my bank and have cash. So I was just bankrolling myself. And then Amex shut that down. Well, okay, so I only have 2 credit cards, and one of them has like very minimal balance, and then the other one is like pretty small. And but once they like froze my, neither of them were not close to being maxed out. But when I didn't make the minimum payment on the one, they froze both of my accounts. And so I was like, dang it. And because, I was literally bankrolling myself from Amex. So when then they froze my account, I was like, well, that goes, there's all the game plans, like, whatever. So Holland, like my best friend, she just like covered me for a couple weeks, and then I sold my car, and then paid her back, got in good standing with Amex, and back in action again. But for my car, it's kind of like, I had already planned to like sell it somehow, like some way or another, way before I did the universal trust vault thing, because it was just like, that's a whole different story, but it just part of what no longer serves, in the sense of like, it just like, not good memories, not whatever, like just, moving on from it. But yes, I closed in less than a week. I'm in good standing with Amex. I'm fully back in action. And then once I close, then I'm gonna, figure out what to do from there, where I want, what my next move is. But anyway, yesterday I was at Enterprise renting a car, and the guy who's around my age, who's doing the paperwork, was like, the generic questions or whatever, like, what's your company name? And I was like, I don't work for a company anyway. And he's like, oh, okay, personal use? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, are you traveling? Just making small talk, because he's like doing paperwork. And I was like, no, just moving in a week, and needed it for convenience. He goes, oh, where are you moving to? And I was like, well, at first he goes, do you want car, and like, do you need like car insurance or whatever it is, you know, that they offer? And usually I say no, but I was like, well, I sold my car and canceled my auto policy, so I guess, yes, I do have to pay for that through you guys. And then he's like, okay. And then he's like, I don't know, somehow, then it got to the moving question. He's like, oh, where are you moving? And I was like, I have no idea. And he looked up and he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I have no idea where I'm moving. And he was like, okay. And I was like, I'm just like hitting a hard reset with my life, and we're kind of just doing a trust fall with the universe and just gonna see how this plays out. And, or, you know, where the wind takes me. And he was like, is your family on board, or do they not know about it? And I was like, you know, they weren't really at first. I said, but they've, you know, kind of come around the last couple months or whatever, and they're being pretty supportive. And he's like, that's so freaking cool. He's like, I have always had the urge to do something similar, like just get in the car and go and not look back and see where the wind takes me. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. We're gonna find out. And then, ironically enough, I just do potluck, or that's how I always do rental cars. You know, just the category. I just pick SUV and then whatever. Well, when we walked out to the parking lot, the car that was like waiting for me was a Nissan Rogue, which made me laugh. It's just kind of like, you know, like a smile from the universe, or like a wink from the universe. Just as, I don't know, I thought it was ironic that I got a Nissan Rogue as my rental car. Anyway, and then, yeah, I'm feeling more like balanced, like, and kind of have like a better grasp on like how I'm navigating like my whole situation, as far as like what all I'm going through, like personally with all of this. Like I feel more, you know, balanced, I guess, like it's, or a better grasp on it, I guess is the better way to put it. And a couple weeks ago I had kind of like this epiphany, like me, like the stuff I'm like talking about in these videos, like it's not even like weird to me anymore. It's like normal. And then like a few of my really good friends that I grew up with, they have like, you know, families and like all like stuff going on, or like multiple kids under the age of 5 or whatever. And it's like, they're even like supportive and like, you know, it's normal. Like they don't even think it's that weird. And so I'm like, okay, like this, like I just like, you know, this has become like a completely new normal thing to me. It's like not even weird anymore. But then there will be times where I'm like around certain friends or people, and I feel like, you know, if I'm like, you know, gauging the same metrics, and then, you know, I'll feel completely crazy, like who can't even relate to it whatsoever. Anyway, I guess my point is like normal like does not exist anyway, and it's like so relative to like, I don't know, what you consider to be normal. So I've kind of just like wrote off like like I just don't even care anymore about whatever. Like, you know, trying to like, I don't know. I guess I'm coming more into peace of just like, I'm just gonna do me, and, you know, trust just follow what feels right for me. And like, I'm done even like trying to consider if it's, you know, would be on a normal spectrum or not. But my dad, a few nights ago, I texted him and I was like, hey, like I heard a few of you guys are like, you know, really stressing out and worried. And I said, you know, all is good. I'm fine. Like there's, you know, no need to worry. And he texted and he's like, okay. He's like, you know, I'm just concerned, like mental health here. Like this does not look very stable on paper. And he said, I just like, you know, want you to know I'm always here for you. Like, please call me anytime you need to talk, and, you know, whatever. And I was like, I know, I love you so much. I was like, but I was like, you can't relate to me, so it's not helpful. And then the next day he called to follow up for a verbal health check, mental health check. And he was, and he's Mark, my dad, he has been like pretty supportive. I mean, my family's like very kind. Like, even if I can't relate to them, like, and they're not like rah about me doing this, they like aren't mean. Like, I guess like some families would be kind of like, mean or whatever. And they're more just kind of like, whatever you're doing. But when my dad called me a couple, like, the next day or whatever, after we texted and for the verbal health check, he was just like, you sold your house, you sold your car, you move in a week, and you don't have movers or a storage unit, or, he listed off a few other things. And he's like, just like on paper, this looks like, are you checking out or something? And I was like, no, I was like, I don't know, today I'm considering moving to Australia. And he's like, okay. And I don't know, it actually ended up being like a really productive conversation, because like, it was for the first time, like, he came at it like with a whole new approach. Like, usually, like, he's like so sarcastic, and my dad, like, so sarcastic and funny, but like so rational, such a hard work, like one of the hardest working people I know. And like, before, when he would text me or call to check in, the few times since I've started this journey of whatever, he'd be like, I think you really just need to like, be proactive about job searching, blah, blah, blah. And like, his natural default was to like tell me like, how to get a 9-to-5 job, and I'm like, you're missing the entire point. That is the hamster wheel I'm getting off of, but great advice if I wanted to stay normal in the corporate world. And so like the conversation would always just like end pretty quickly there, because he wasn't interested in like divulging down the rabbit hole of what I'm doing or what all this stuff is. But when he called a couple days ago, he just like came at it from a whole new approach and was just like, on paper, this just is very concerning. And are you planning, like, what is with Australia? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I've just been drawn to it. And I don't, it's just been like kind of like in the back of my mind in the past few months. And I was like, I just don't really have like, that, or I was like, animal sanctuary. The reason I'm drawn to it is because I follow a lot of animal sanctuaries that are based out of there. And then with the fire stuff, I was like, I was considering like, may as well go for a couple months and volunteer. And my dad was trying to like convince me, like, can you just go somewhere where it's like not on fire, and or like stay in the States. And I was like, no. I was like, I want to, if I go somewhere, I like want to adventure, and I want to go somewhere like where I would like enjoy the climate and culture. And he's like, okay, so besides Australia? And I was like, Kansas City. And he's like, okay, and is there a plan C? And I was like, yeah, but I have no idea what it is yet. And he's like, okay. And he's like, so are you just going to like pick a city and get on a plane, and then are you gonna like, get off at the airport, and are you gonna know, like, do you care if they speak English? And I was like, yes, that is like really, yes, that is important. And he goes, okay, so like, what else is the plan? And I was like, there really is like no plan. And he was like, I lost my train of thought. I lost my, dang it. Anyway, he basically was just like, he was like, he's like, I guess I just like hadn't really like put this into perspective before. He's like, or like taken this like as serious as I should have, as far as like, asking you these questions toward the beginning of this whole deal. He said, he said, out of all the kids, you are the one. He's like, since I came into your life at age 11, that we have never had to worry about. He said, like, you're brilliant, you're a planner, you're 10 steps ahead of everyone else. He said, we've just never had to worry about you, even though you're like fast-paced and in the fast lane. He said, like, of all the kids, like, you're the one. And it kind of was like in that moment, like, I kind of realized, like, I thought I just like couldn't relate to my family, or they like, weren't as supportive or as whatever as I wanted them to be. But I kind of like, I just saw it from a whole new perspective, like where he was coming from. Like, it's not like they didn't care what I was doing. They just like, I don't know. I just saw it from like, I guess like, it was just like a healing moment for me, I guess. Like, it wasn't like personal that like they weren't concerned with what I was doing. It was just more of like, she always has it figured out, we don't need to worry. And then when it kind of like got flagged to his attention, like, I took it up a level. It kind of like hit home for him. And then anyway, I'm just like really thankful I like have him as a dad, and families, I like my family, like, because like a lot of families like probably would like, I don't know, maybe be mean about it if they had a daughter who was like, yes, I am going to do a trust fall with the universe and free fall. But so my family's been like, they're coming around and like being pretty cool. Anyway, and then it also was kind of a healing moment because a couple of my closest friends to me have always like told me, like, Grace, like, you push people away like without knowing it. And I'm always like, no, that is like not possible, because I have such a huge heart, and like I am like an open book. I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, and I like have like more of my heart open to just anyone and everyone on the street than most people in the world probably do to the people closest to them. And so I never like, like one of like a couple of my best friends who would say, yes, if like, you don't let people get close to you, like, aside, like outside of, my best friends, whatever. And it was kind of like too in that moment where I realized, like, when I had that moment with my dad, like, I guess I do push people away, because I kind of realized, like, it wasn't like I know my family like loves me and whatever else. I just thought I couldn't relate to them, but I guess it was kind of like, I realized then, like, I always just think like, okay, well, if people care, then they'll just like break down all the barriers and, they'll show me that they care. And the reason, like, I guess I kind of had that perspective on it is because, like, my mom was, like, some form of, like, angel, truly, like, angelic angel on earth. And her just, like, exuberated this, like, beautiful love, and was just, like, she's more of a mom in 19 years than most people have in an entire lifetime. So, like, so blessed and lucky, like, to have had her. But, like, having like that high of bar for, like, what like normal love is, which, she exceeded who she was and how she was, like, exceeded like any form of most people's parents' expectations, like, or like, what they have as a parent. So I guess like that was kind of a big healing breakthrough moment, which is good, as like, all this stuff kind of like in January, like there's like all the, the lunar eclipse, full moon, open portals, some of the planets are in conjunction. I don't know, I'm not super into like the astrology game, but anyway, like there's still lots of energies, lots of ascension symptoms of like not feeling well, physical detoxification, and yeah, so it's just like all this stuff that's coming up, and I was kind of like, felt like I was treading muddy water for a while, and was like getting really frustrated. I was like, well, basically, like, I know healing's like a never ending journey. You're always like, you know, kind of circling back to it, or you kind of go through it in layers. But that was a big breakthrough this week, realizing some of that stuff. But yes, and then another thing is, it's like, I guess just a reminder for everybody to just like, you know, keep an open mind and like try to actively like kind of broaden your perspective and like see things, challenge yourself to see, you know, varying viewpoints, or open yourself up to like, you know, I don't know what else may be out there versus like kind of like, you know, standard textbook stuff. You know, kind of like like my dad did, who doesn't necessarily believe in all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like, you know, we're all just walking each other home. And as cheesy as that sounds, we all, like, you know, we incarnate into planet Earth, and again, you know, under the fourth dimension, you forget everything. That's part of the duality experience. And but the thing is, it's like we all incarnate here. Like, we're a very unique piece of the puzzle. Every soul has an exact purpose. No one's comparable at the end of the day. And it's like we're born here, and we all come with our own roadmap, or our own like blueprint of existence. And so it's like, you know, you're born, you know, you're a toddler, you get raised, and it's like you get so caught up in like being stuck in like kind of that duality. You know, you get caught in karmic cycles, and you're so busy like looking parallel to like what everyone around you, like family, friends, community, like wherever or whatever type of place you grow up in, you know, you just get stuck looking parallel to like what everyone else is doing as your benchmarker. When really, like, when we all come here, it's like we all have a very own unique roadmap. And it's like, you know, if you think of it as like, you know, if you think of it as like having a physical roadmap, you know, it's like yours might be to the game of Candyland. Mine might be to Monopoly, and then somebody else's might be to Pictionary. And it's like, so really, like, you know, whether, and it's like every soul is unique and different. You choose the families you're born into, and so it's like blood or not, or no matter who you are, it's like everyone should just be like judging their progress and like benchmarking themselves and everything, like, again, like, you know, only against themselves, like being better than you were yesterday, rather than just, you know, it's like everyone's holding instructions or a roadmap to a different game, yet you know, you're caught looking parallel, comparing yourself to people who are playing games that are not related to yours. And anyway, part of how Earth has kind of gotten this karmic predicament to begin with. But yes, so just everybody just like do your best to focus on what lights you up, listening to your own truth, following your own intuition and heart, and you know, try not to compare yourself to others. Try to like get back to like who you are. So that the picture behind me, I don't know if you can see it, but see how it's kind of like it almost looks like a wind is like blowing the spots off of the dog. And it kind of made me think the other day, like, you know, society or like your family or your friends or whatever, you know, everyone thinks they should be a certain way or do something or be married by a certain age, or, you know, have a job, have a certain type of job, or have whatever, have kids by a certain age. And it's like you are just, from the minute you're born, told, you know, that comparison karmic trap. And it's like, you know, that picture, just like when I bought it, like I didn't know why it spoke to me so much, because like I'm obsessed with animals, but there's a trillion type of like dog and animal art. But like, I just like, I don't know, something with it just resonated with my soul. And then it's just like, I don't know, it circled back to like, I don't know, several lessons randomly as I've seen it in the past couple months. But it kind of made me think like, you know, when I was like, when all this stuff was happening to me and I couldn't figure out like why or what I was going through, or, you know, before I had any form of clarity on the situation, I like, you know, was kind of like, I don't know, reading like old letters and cards or whatever else. And I just think it's like really important for everyone to have like, it doesn't matter if it's like, but like have a space where you like make a shrine to yourself. And that might sound egotistical, but like it's not. It's more of like just like trying to remember like who you really are before like everybody told you, family, friends, society, like who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. Like it's important to like, you know, look within and start to remember like who you are, and like get to know your soul again, and like what fulfills like you, and like what lights you up, and like, you know, what speaks to your heart. And and it's like I feel like most people like, you know, in their, you know, 20s and on, they don't know who they are. They you know, have suppressed it to like fit this like cookie cutter, you know, I don't know, game of like, I don't know, life. And it's like everyone's like judging themselves like against the same like checklist versus like caring like if they're miserable or not. But I think like everyone should have like, you know, whether it be an office or a, you know, inside of a closet door or a cabinet door or on a fridge or a mirror or whatever it may be, like make a shrine to yourself, like whether and put stuff that like lights you up or makes you happy, and whether it be like, you know, like letters and cards or memories from like a special event or sports or movies or hobbies, anything, like even if it doesn't make sense, if it like makes you happy and it like, you know, it I don't know, resonates inside of you, like who cares? Like make a shrine to yourself, and like whether it makes sense now or not, and you know, just kind of like see what comes of it. I think a lot of people would be really surprised, like if you put a little thought and effort into like, you know, building or like, you know, I don't know, collaging or doing a little area that's just about you and what makes you happy. I don't know. I feel like I challenge everybody to, you know, do something along those lines, and I don't know, try to think outside the box and get creative. But anyway, and then what else is there? Yeah, so I guess like my next steps, I am going to go home for a week, hang out with some of my step sibs who are back from, who were on Christmas break in college. So I'm gonna go home for a week after I close and do that. Then I'm gonna go stay with my grandparents for a week, and then come back to Kansas City for a couple weeks, stay with a friend. But like in that month, I guess like, you know, kind of in this upcoming month is when I'm gonna figure out like what I want to do next, and like if I want to stay in Kansas City, or if I want to consider other options, or that's kind of my plan in the next week, or the next month, and then go from there. I was hoping to have a few more, like I wanted to do a few more videos before I close, like specific, like one to channeling, one to like kind of like, you know, steps of spiritual awakening. What else was there that I really wanted to do? Oh, the subconscious mind, and like how, and like, you know, kind of how to retrain yourself to kind of get out of some of these negative loops and traps that you're likely that your mind creates. Like your mind is, you know, very programmable, and you don't even realize you get caught in certain thinking patterns that like, I don't know, kind of keep you trapped in getting the same results over and over, even though you might really want different results, or you think you're consciously doing like your best to like take yourself off one path and like work toward another or whatever, and it's like kind of the how huge a role the subconscious mind plays. And then what else was there? There was a hand spiritual enlightenment, channeling, the different forms of spirit guides, how you can start to try to ask your guides for signs and like establish that you're interested, and how to pay attention for universal signs and number patterns, and like if you're interested in taking your own trust fall journey, which again, like like my trust fall journey is, this is what's right for me. But if everybody did a trust fall with the universe, it may look so polar opposite different for everyone. So I can't say what your trust fall would look like. But yeah, so maybe I'll just, I don't know, if I don't get I just those a few resource videos made that I think are important, like just to have as like reference points for whoever may need my story in the future. If I don't get them done in the next like less than a week, I guess maybe I'll take my show on the road. We'll see. But yes, that is just kind of a quick update, and not that quick, 30 minutes. But I love you all. Bye.